You guys would not believe the problems that I have been having just trying to get this video uploaded to YouTube. First, I've had so many problems and interruptions, and then I tried to access the internet, and I can't access the internet, so I had to switch to my old computer to access the internet. I don't know if somebody ruined my computer or what, but I couldn't access the internet. All I'm trying to do is talk to you about my experiences with holographic technology and cloaking technology. If I seem really, really irritated and agitated in this video, that's why. Because I've been freaking trying to do this for I don't even know how long, and I'm really pissed right now. So I apologize. But I got to get this up, and I got to get it up today. Alright, these are my personal experiences with holographic technology and cloaking technology. Invisibility cloaking technology. It started in between the years 1979 and 1982. I don't know which year exactly because I was a child and I don't remember what year it was. I just know that we were living in a certain house, and we lived in that house from 1979 until 1982. It happened when I was outside playing with my friends. I was playing with 3 of my friends. We were in the parking lot of the house. All around the house were woods, very thick, rough terrain type woods. And we saw 3 people going through the woods, and then they passed through the clearing, which was the driveway. There was a driveway that went from our house out to the highway. And they passed through that clearing. And when they passed through the clearing, we could see that we couldn't see their legs. So we could see their torsos, their arms, and their head, but we couldn't see their legs. And there was about 2 to 4 of them, I think, like around 3 or something. And they had to have been riding in some type of vehicle because they were moving about the speed of a fast run, except that they weren't running because their movement was very smooth. And so what I now think is that what it was that they were sitting in some type of a cloaked hovercraft of some kind. And, you know, that was why we couldn't see their legs, because the craft that they were sitting in was invisible to the human eye. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about that. I don't think there is. But I know that I saw that technology. That means they could make their craft invisible. They had hovercraft back then, and they could make it invisible back then. And they were partially invisible. Their bodies were solid, but they were completely black. Like you couldn't see any color or any patterns or any clothing or anything like that. It was just opaque, solid, non-translucent, just solid black, just nothing, no facial features, nothing. And then the next experience that I had was with this type of technology was in 1997, and this is kind of a long story, and I'm going to try to make it as short as I possibly can. I was in college at the time, and I was dating a guy, and when I first met him, he had asked to touch my nose, and I thought it was really strange. And he kind of he just convinced me that he was like, please, 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 can I touch your nose? I just need to do this. And I was like, finally agreed to it and said, yeah, go ahead. And what he did was he took his thumb and he ran his thumb from all the way from the top of my forehead down to the tip of my nose. And he was really closely examining it for some reason, which at the time I didn't understand, but now that I look back, I realized that he was probably testing to see if I was using some type of holographic projection technology on my face. But, you know, I had no idea at the time that that's what he was doing. But now I realize that that's definitely what he was doing. I noticed some odd things about him. For example, I had seen him on a television commercial. It was kind of odd because I wasn't living in Los Angeles anymore. I was living in Northern California, so I thought that was kind of weird. And I just happened to see his commercial right when I took my break at work, and I thought that was kind of odd. And I'd asked somebody who he was, and they said he was a soccer player. So when we kind of started dating, I had gone to a dance concert rehearsal that he had, and he was the only guy there. He was performing with, I think, 4 other girls, and he was the only guy in the show. And I remember watching his rehearsal, and I remember thinking that he was just not a very good dancer at all. And I was wondering, I mean, he just couldn't dance at all. And I was wondering why they had cast him in the show. And then when I went and watched the show, he had only done one number, the first number. And then for the rest of the show, it was this Latino guy who was a really, really good dancer. In fact, he was like pretty much professional. He could have been professional if he wanted to be. And but I never saw Chris. Chris was the guy that I was dating. I never saw Chris on stage with the Latino guy ever. And I never saw them together. And I saw Chris before the show, and I saw Chris after the show, but I never saw the Latino guy ever except for during the show. And it was a small show. I mean, it took place at a small dance studio. I don't understand how that could have happened. And plus, I never saw the Latino guy at the rehearsal itself. Well, about 2 months after that show, I had run into the girls that he had done the show with, and I'd asked them, I said, you know, hey, how's Chris doing? And they didn't know who I was talking about. And they really didn't. I was living in a small town in Northern California. It wasn't like a Los Angeles, Hollywood environment. It was totally different. And they honestly didn't know who I was talking about. And, you know, they were like, do you mean the Latino guy? Or they were like, Chris? Who's Chris? And I was like, the guy that, you know, did your show with you guys a couple months ago. And they were like, oh, you mean the Latino guy? And I was like, no, I'm talking about the guy with the bright red hair. And they just didn't know who I was talking about, according to the description. According to what I saw and how he looked, they didn't know who I was talking about. So I thought that was really weird at the time, but I didn't know what it meant or how it could even be possible. Then the following year, in 1998, I had a job that was outside of California. It was in another state, completely away from the West Coast. And I had this job, and my supervisor looked identical to a director that I had in Hollywood. During a show that I had done in Hollywood, my director this guy that was my supervisor looked identical to that director. And I thought it was really weird. I mean, obviously I knew it wasn't him because he would have said to me, hey, how's it going? You know, what's up? And so, I mean, I knew it wasn't him. I was in a totally different state, blah, blah, blah. I was like, it's not him, you know. But he did look identical. Well, then, this one day, he changed, and it was a different guy. And I knew the kind of car this guy drove up in. I knew, you know, he sat in the desk behind me at work. I mean, I knew the rounds that he made pretty much because I worked there. So this one day, this other guy shows up, and he's walking around. He's sitting at my supervisor's desk. He's driving my supervisor's car, and he's making the same rounds. But it's not my supervisor. It's some other guy. And that guy looks similar to Chris, the guy that I had dated the year before. Okay, you seen the picture? It was really weird. It was really freaking weird, okay? And there were other weird things about that job because I had this little clock that I would take with me to work. And it started acting weird. And it started like the hands would like spin around and stuff. And it was just really weird. So, you know, at the time I knew that something really strange was going on, but I didn't have any kind of reference for what it could be. I just didn't know. Okay, I had no clue, but I knew that it wasn't normal. And then the next time I had experience with this, oh, and then the guy left. So the guy that looked similar to Chris was only there for like a couple days or a week, and then he was gone, and nobody said anything about it. I mean, nobody said anything like, oh, this new guy's going to show up, and blah, blah, blah. No, it was just like everybody was just acting normal, and he was acting like it was just a normal standard day, and it was just really freaking weird. But it was like not him, it was someone else. So the next time I had an experience with this technology was in 2008. I was invited to a club tour that was going on in Hollywood. I was back living in Hollywood again. And this pop star was up and coming, and she was doing a club tour. And it was around Christmas time. I don't remember exactly when. I just remember it was cold, and I remember there were Christmas decorations up everywhere. And I was invited to this concert, and so I went. But when I went and I got there, it was like about 50 feet from the stage. And there was thousands upon thousands of people there. I mean, it was just this really big event. And I remember I was like 50 feet from the stage. And when she came out, during the entire, I kept thinking that, oh, the headliner just hasn't come out yet. You know, the main performer hasn't come out yet. But for the entire time that I was there, I was watching this thing that I'm not even sure what it was. I don't even know if it was human, walking around on the stage, just marking the show while people in the audience were screaming. And I mean, I say thing because it just didn't look human. It had like a round rib cage, and it had this thick neck that seemed to just like be the same size as its rib cage somehow. And then I can't remember, its face was like, it just didn't have a human nose. Its nose was way too big and like wide, or I can't even explain it. It just didn't look human. And to be honest with you, I was really scared. I was actually scared being there. I felt like I was on an alien planet or something. But everybody in the audience was just screaming and all happy, and I was just really freaked out. And I actually left Los Angeles after that too, like within a couple months after that. But anyway, I just couldn't figure out what the deal that thing was, because it just wasn't. And now I look back and I see that pop star, and when I went to her concert and I didn't even see her. I mean, she wasn't even on the stage. I don't know what that thing was, but it wasn't her. Now I look back and I think they were using holographic projection technology, and it's way more advanced than you think it is. It's not like the Tuvok thing. It's way more advanced than that. And then the final thing that I experienced was also in Hollywood, and it was in like 2008, 2009. And I was at this place, and I saw 5 different people that had this, like, seemed to have this illuminating around their face. 2 of them were girls, and I actually saw like what looked like a glass ball on their head, and then there was like this light emanating from somewhere around their head, and all 5 of these people were extraordinarily attractive, you know, and I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of, you know, okay, whatever, it's LA, but I mean, they all had this light emanating around their head, and there were 2 guys, and it was the same thing. They had like a light emanating around their head, except I didn't see a glass ball around their head. But there was this one girl standing right in front of me, and she literally changed appearance right in front of me. First, I looked at her, and she had short blonde hair and beautiful, like, glittery makeup that matched perfectly her skin tone, and she was kind of thin. I looked away, and then I looked right back, and she was right next to me, and she had long black hair, and she was kind of heavier, and her makeup was, like, it didn't match well at all with her skin tone. Like, it was like cheap makeup. And I just was like, oh my God, this girl freaking changed appearance right in front of me. So, I mean, my whole purpose, I got to go, I'm running out of time. I just wanted to tell you guys this because you need to know it. Eventually, everyone's going to become aware of this technology. And I just wanted to give you a heads up on what's actually out there, and that it's around you in your life, and you'll never know it. You'll never recognize it. All right, let you go. Bye.